Beyond the balance sheet, Robert Kabushenga's call to authentic living. Welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Balance Sheet. I'm so glad you're here. If you've ever felt like your title, your job, or your career defines all of who you are, then this message is for you. Because today, we're exploring the powerful story and message of Robert Kabushenga, corporate lawyer, former CEO of Vision Group, now coffee farmer, podcaster, and an inspiring voice calling us all to something deeper: authentic living. Success without self-loss. We live in a world where the question, "What do you do?" has replaced, "Who are you?" At the Africa Congress of Accountants 2025, Robert Kabushenga stood on stage and disrupted that mindset with one striking line. When you arrived on this earth, you were not an accountant. You were a person. Don't bury that person in the excuse of career. Think about that for a second. How often do we confuse what we do with who we are? From boardrooms to coffee farms. Kabushenga's own story is remarkable. For decades, he was introduced with a string of corporate titles. But at that conference, he corrected the record and said simply, "I am no longer on the KCB Uganda board. These days, I am a farmer, growing coffee." That shift was more than a career change. It was a life statement, a declaration that fulfillment comes from living authentically, not chasing titles. And it didn't stop there. He also co-founded the Bad Natives podcast to amplify African voices. Because authentic living isn't just personal. It's about creating space for others to be real too. Lessons from President Paul Kagame. One of Kabushenga's most vivid stories came from an interview with Paul Kagame back in 2000. He says the president gave them 3.5 hours of his time, and what they experienced was Kagame, the man, not the president. What impressed him most wasn't just the president's words. It was his desk, completely clean. No piles of paper, no gadgets, no family photos. Kabushenga said, "That desk taught me more about leadership than any speech could." He then asked the audience, "Have you brought yourself into your profession the way Kagame brought his personality to the presidency? Or has your office consumed you?" It's a piercing question, and one worth asking yourself today. Embracing hardship now. Here's where it gets even more powerful. Kabushenga believes self-discovery doesn't come through comfort, but through hardship. At 55 years old, he set out to test that. He climbed Africa's highest mountain. He walked into Rwanda on foot through the Virunga Ranges. And he ran the 86-kilometer Comrades Marathon in South Africa, finishing in just 11 hours. In that marathon, when his body screamed to quit, a stranger whispered, "One more step. Don't stop." And that, he said, became a metaphor for life itself. We need voices that encourage us when we feel like giving up. The danger of professional identity. But perhaps the most moving story was about his wife. Once, someone told her she was keeping the CEO waiting. She smiled and replied, "That one is my husband. He will wait." Titles can impress outsiders, but at home you're simply loved for who you are. Kabushenga warned, "Do not let your career kill the human being in search of a corporate executive." That one lands deep, doesn't it? Lessons for us all. So what does this mean for us? Kabushenga leaves us with practical wisdom. Leave work at work. When it's 5 p.m., go home and be present. Cultivate new passions. Learn a skill, teach, explore. Remember your humanity. You weren't born a title. You were born a person. And this isn't just his voice. Global leaders echo it too. Nelson Mandela once said, "There is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." Mother Teresa reminded us, we cannot all do great things, but we can do small things with great love and leadership. Expert John Maxwell put it this way: people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. All of them point back to the same truth. Authenticity is more powerful than titles. Beyond the balance sheet. Friends, Robert Kabushenga's message is crystal clear. Don't wait until retirement or until it's too late to rediscover who you are. Beyond the balance sheet, beyond the corner office, beyond the accolades, there's a human being. And the world needs that authentic self far more than it needs another title. So let me leave you with this challenge today. What's one step you can take today to reclaim the person behind the profession? Thank you for joining me for this episode of Beyond the Balance Sheet. If you found this inspiring, share it with a friend, leave a review, and most of all, go live authentically.